Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Congressional Art and Fashion Association's Hill Highlight. This is another episode where we highlight one of our members of Congress or a congressional staffer in a various aspect of art and or fashion. Today, we are talking about a specific area of fashion: secondhand clothing, purchasing vintage, consignment, thrift. And there are ways to absolutely do this on the Hill. With us today to discuss some of these issues is Pari Patel. Pari, thank you so much for joining us today. We are super excited. I'm very excited to hear about just your process and the places that you like to shop. But just tell us a little more about yourself, what you do on the Hill, and your interest in fashion.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you for having me. I am very excited. So fashion is definitely a creative outlet for me where I'm able to express myself and my personality, and also a vehicle to explore issues that I'm passionate about. I was born and raised in New York, and I moved to Washington, D.C. last year to work on the Hill, and I'm currently a legislative correspondent for Congressman Joe Kennedy of Massachusetts. My journey into secondhand fashion started with a documentary that I watched in my undergrad sociology class, The True Cost, which you can find on Netflix or Amazon Prime. It opened my eyes to the impact of the fashion industry on the laborers making our clothes and the true cost of our clothing. The documentary highlighted stories of garment workers who survived the Rana Plaza factory collapse in Bangladesh in 2014, which was an 8-story garment factory that was producing some of the world's largest fashion brands. And this incident killed over 1,100 people and left 2,500 people injured. When you listen to real people, real stories, you start to ask yourself, why does someone need to suffer on my behalf for my personal style choices, especially women in countries overseas? There is no need to sacrifice quality or style when seeking environmentally friendly and ethically sourced clothing, where there are brands out there who do their due diligence to ensure that their supply chain is meeting their standards of care for the laborers and pay. I take a lot of pride in telling my colleagues and friends and strangers who compliment my outfits that my purchase was from a thrift store, and I believe that one person at a time can inspire others to think critically and normalize thrifting.
Now, Pari, you are known, and I have heard about you and your outfits, and I have seen some of the great pieces that you've put together. I try to put on, in your honor today, one of my favorite vintage thrift finds, and something that you can wear on the Hill. So I think a lot of people would be interested in hearing about your process. When you go into a thrift store, where do you go to shop? What do you look for when you're shopping, even for the Hill or outside of the Hill?
I definitely go to Goodwill a lot, and there are dozens of secondhand stores to choose from, such as the Salvation Army, the Real Online, Poshmark. There are also clothing swap Facebook groups that you can join online. So when I do enter a Goodwill, and let's say I am looking for work clothes, things that speak to me may be something of different textures, such as silk or satin or velvet. And on the Hill, you have to adhere to a formal dress code, so you cannot be ostentatious. So I may wear like a solid or a pinstripe jacket or blazer, but inside is where I would test the waters with a silk blouse or a different color, something I usually wouldn't try. The thrift stores have really helped me go out of my comfort zone and try things I wouldn't have before, because there's not that guilt of not wearing something for the price. For example, there may be something that you have in your closet that costs $60 to $80, and you maybe worn it once in 2 years. When you leave a thrift shop, you may be leaving with 8 things for that price of one. And it's also important to flag that you don't get carried away when shopping in a thrift store, because there is that you will want everything, and there's that excitement with it, but I like to ask myself multiple times, am I going to wear this? And I like to check the clothing from top to bottom to make sure there's no damage, and then when you bring it to the register, a lot of times it may be even marked down if you don't want it. So there's always that.
Now, you just mentioned something, I think that's a great tip, like really checking over items to make sure there's no damage or no damage that you're willing to repair on a particular garment. What else would you, as far as fit or any other mistakes that you've made in the past thrifting that you would maybe try to flag to somebody now?
So I would find a lot of shirts and fabrics that I really like, but they were too big for me. And I would look at the price tag and it would be $2.50. And I would bring it home with the intention that I want to upcycle it, but I have not upcycled anything yet. But it does not hurt my pocket, bank account, or future when it was $2.
Right. Absolutely.
And I can recycle that and use it for anything. I can make anything out of it. I can make a pillowcase. I can make a shirt. I can make a dress.
Okay, so we're definitely going to bring you back on for some DIYs, because this is a great time to do some DIYs with some of our older items as well. So stay tuned, everybody, for some upcoming DIYs with some of our fashion. Do you have some of your favorite pieces or some interesting pieces that you could just share with us, or give examples of maybe what we could wear on the Hill or elsewhere?
Yeah, so before I start with Hill clothing,
Sure.
I'll start with one of my favorite jean jackets that I got from Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And
that's really cool.
thank you. I recently found this at a Goodwill and caught my eye, and I couldn't let go of it.
Yes.
And this piece here was it's one of my favorite dresses.
Beautiful, yes.
And then as for the Hill, so when I was talking about patterns, I was talking about blouses like this, where it's a very different material, and if you look closely, there's patterns and different textures under my sleeves.
That's beautiful. So I totally see how with your dark colored blazer and then something with that kind of fabric and color can just completely pop and transform your entire wardrobe immediately. And like you just showed. Yes, yes. And I really love that denim jacket that you got. It's so cute. And then you got like a more oversized size, which totally still works with a lot of the fashion styles right now. So casual, work, party, it looks like you can do it all at the thrift store, would you say?
When you were talking about the wardrobe, sorry, Kendall. I think we have to talk about how they would go well with the suit, but it would also, you said it would pop with the suit, but I was going to say it would also change the way you make it feel during the day.
Okay, now let's stay there for a minute, because when we talk about fashion, it's not just the way you look, but maybe just how it can make a person feel. I know when I see someone wearing something great, I enjoy it. It puts a smile on my face sometimes. But can you just describe that a little more from your perspective? What kind of impact it makes when you're wearing something that makes you feel good?
When I started studying the link between fashion and psychology, it was no surprise when I found research that supports the notion that clothes that we wear may alter how we approach and interact with the world. It affects our behavior, our attitude, our personality. And when we change into an outfit that we consider powerful or fun, we are using those clothes as a medium to step into the right frame of mind to do the things we need to do, whether it's to have a powerful day on the hill, productive day on the hill, or a great workout.
Now, I agree with that 100%. And I think we even see that a lot with some of the women in Congress and them expressing themselves, these powerful, influential women, dressing themselves in ways that are, it's their personality, but also it makes a difference just with how they're able to do their job, their role. With our current state of trying to weather the pandemic, a lot of people working from home, what have you seen, or have you seen some changes, or what impact do you think that's making on some of us just with the fashion adjustments we're having to make, some from working from home or doing our virtual conferences? How are you seeing this pandemic impacting people and fashion?
I think the pandemic has made people realize that we own too many clothes and we do not need as much material as we do. And it also has made us look at introspect into our own thought process and see what the trigger is to go shopping, and do we really need that extra piece, and should we dissect our closet first and make an inventory before we go out shopping, because a lot of times we'll find things that we have not worn in a very long time. Also, I've seen a lot of people get dressed up just to go to the grocery store, and why not? You're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for anyone else. And that may, after spending days in the house in sweats and you go dress up to go to the grocery store, you may feel that little difference.
Absolutely. And then we have our masks on, and that just contributes to our whole, how we're feeling about ourselves and fashion and everything in general. Some people are really stepping up their creativity with masks as well. So that's making a big difference and a change. So you've talked about your process. You've talked about the impact it can make on us emotionally, and how we go about our day and the influence of fashion. Just if you were to encourage congressional staffers about maybe reasons to consider secondhand clothing, maybe even legislative reasons to consider the importance of the global impact of the fashion industry, what advice would you give to Hill staffers or even members of Congress who are interested in that as well, to maybe consider this way of fashion?
So the fast fashion industry affects an intersect of things, and there's multiple forms of injustices involved, such as racism, sexism, or ableism. And garment workers nationwide and prison factory garment workers have historically been exploited in the USA as well. In a women's prison in Chino, California, during the pandemic, garment workers have reported stitching masks for 12 hours a day, even if they test positive, making 8 cents to $1 an hour. And the production is only going up, and people are asking for more of these prisons. From an environmental perspective, the fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the world, just after the oil industry. There are dramatic ecological consequences when it comes to producing clothes, from excess water pollution, water contamination, resource depletion, and waste accumulation. And there are alternatives out there to choose clothing with natural and organic fibers with lower water consumption, but it's our duty to make these choices and vote with our dollar.
Awesome. And like you just said, the power of our dollar and what we invest in and put into and what that's supporting. Just us as individuals, as staffers, can make a huge impact. Pari, I want to thank you so much for sharing your experience, sharing your knowledge with us, and your passion for fashion, and just showing us that it can be done on a budget, and it's not only budget friendly, but it's considerate of the world, our global economy, and also our workers as well, who have to deal with the global aspect. You say women in particular, who tend to suffer often from the garment industry, manufacturing industry. So this is another way that us as congressional staffers could even be an influence in our own offices, either legislatively or just individually, with how we contribute to society. We are going to make sure that there is some links and information to places that congressional staffers can shop, like you mentioned. Please also look out to see some other fashion style photos of Pari, to just give you more ideas. If you have any additional questions for the Congressional Association, or even for Pari to give you a response, please feel free to drop that down in your comments. Pari, we will see you again, and we look forward to that with some more DIY fashion tips. But thank you all for listening. Please be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much.